Money conversations, we've been making business moves. Contemplating how to get it, need to get in tune. Different topics, we got options, you can pick and choose. If more income ain't the outcome, gotta switch the mood. We tryna help you to improve, thanks for asking. Road to riches, speak on broker days and past tense. Wealthy habits, lately I just wanna stack chips. Took a risk and we've been running up a bag since. G-Vast Quest, quick to make a couple G's. Detox, spitting knowledge, put you on your feet. Bug out, got the plate, make sure to pray before you eat. At the table with the winners, come and take a seat.
Yo, what up?
We here.
We back again. I got a really special treat for y'all today, boy. My man Mike. Yo, I called him. He picked it up like on a second ring. So he like, Bud, what up? So I said, come through.
First ring,
come through.
My hand was on the steering wheel, so I couldn't hit the button on the side of the wheel.
Let me finish giving you your flowers, bro.
My bad.
I'm introducing you.
Oh.
It gotta be special.
Okay.
My man. 50 grand and all. My man Mike Geronimo came to the Thanks for Asking podcast.
That's
and
it.
I appreciate it.
Of course. I love you, too.
I love you too, bro. So Detox is gonna do the interviewing. Mm-hmm. So y'all just do your build up, bro.
Yeah.
Do your shit.
We're shaking. What we talking about? Look at boys.
This is not Jimmy. Shit, right?
This is not Jimmy Kimmel. Let me stop fucking around.
Mike.
What's up with you, kid?
It's a fucking pleasure.
Likewise.
Honor. I remember them talking about you, cause for my, you may not know me, but I worked in a barbershop since I was like 14.
Yeah, this home team.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We came back, I wanted to do a podcast, they wanted to do a podcast, and we wanted to, normally we put a highlight on regular people in their life, but, he was a special person, and for them, like, you're a regular person because you know them. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So...
One of us got a dollar. We both got 50. So.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so to have you on the show is a pleasure. This is our first season. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, we want to thank you for that, man.
Wish y'all well too.
Thank you. I feel like I'm going somewhere. My mom made it.
Yeah. You turn it back now. Once you win, it ain't no way out.
Word.
That's what they said.
And this show is always trying to put information in the hands of the people, and we want to talk about your career and your life, and you being in this business for almost 25, 30 years and this shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. All the bumps and bruises and the life lessons. Yeah. We can learn something from you. You know what I'm saying? And I wanna do that. I guess the first thing is, for people my age and younger, how did you get on? How did you get when did you first start? When did you feel like you first started
professionally? Professionally, I would say I was about 18. 19.
God damn.
I think that's around the time that I had met Irv Gotti through an acquaintance from school, through a good friend of mine, rather, Chucky Madness. Shout out to Chucky Madness.
Shout out to Chucky.
Yeah, and he introduced us, and then from there we spoke. I went to the lab with him, and like the first time we went, we ended up doing Shit's Real and couple of other joints, and then from there it was just
Shit's Real. Shit's still real.
Yeah. Bullet Train Ride.
Son, that's great. Yeah, so like your first songs was like,
yeah, I never recorded a song prior to that. Like Shit's Real was like literally the very first time I was ever in a studio and ever recorded a song. So
I take it Irv helped you grow in the sense of learning how to put songs together and stuff like
absolutely.
that.
I knew nothing regarding the song structure when I met her. Like, all I knew was just go. You hear the beat and just go. And granted, I grew up with Large Professor, so he behind the scenes, I would say, was showing me the ropes, but I think he was doing it at a slower pace, as to ensure that I kind of really understood everything. Yeah. And then when Irv came along, he taught me the technical side of songwriting, like what bars were and the hook and the importance of the hook and structures of songs and not to overthink and to start when you write your hook first and then write the rest of the song, which was different for me. So he definitely put me on to how to maneuver, how to operate efficiently.
Wow,
Yeah.
I for the record, I don't want to get into the sideshow shit. Oh, you know what I'm saying?
No, we not.
You know what I'm saying? I do not want to get it. That's not what we about. That's why I said it. That's why I tried to say
That's
what
a
you
fact.
know what I'm saying? Not trying to. That's not what we about.
Not, but really briefly.
But at the same time, he still was a part of your journey.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
And I was gonna say I can't take anything from him, and definitely I'm grateful and thankful that he did lead me into the water, figuratively speaking. And you have to give credit where credit is due.
Yes,
he saw a plan and he saw something in me.
Yeah,
and he saw the way that I needed to do it. So for those things, I could never take anything from him. You know? So salute to Irv. I wish him the best.
We wish any black man who working hard and trying to uplift people and shit. So you know what I'm saying. Is he was the one who got you your first deal?
Yeah, like we basically recorded Shit's Real, and we did, I want to say 2-3 more songs. And he was the one taking it to the labels, or they were getting in contact with him. I was just, like if something happens, it does. If it doesn't, it's cool.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, a couple of labels was calling, and he would say, "Yo, let's go sit down and talk with them. Let's go sit down and talk with them." So we sat down, we talked to a couple of labels, and then ultimately we ended up at TVT Blunt. And that's how it all went down.
18, what was it, 18?
Yeah, about that. 18 going on 19.
18 going on 19. Yeah. You sitting down in an office with record execs. How does that feel?
I was oblivious, to be honest.
Nervous. You had to be nervous.
It didn't really bother me.
Yeah.
I had no
Super
idea
nervous.
who these people was.
Yeah.
I've never heard of them. I didn't know what their expectations were. I didn't know what my expectations were.
I was about to say, did you even understand what a record deal was and shit? Like,
it happened so fast that, like, I mean, on the surface, you know what what's in front.
Right.
But in terms of in depth and how it's gonna play out with the rest of my days, I wasn't thinking about any of that. So I just went, and I was just me, and if they dug it, they did, and if they didn't, they didn't. And I can honestly say no one didn't want us to be a part of what they were doing. Every label we met, they were very receptive, and they were very courteous, and they were very eager to get us on board. So of all the places that we went, there wasn't one that had maybe reservations about bringing us on board. But again, like I said, I was just going with the flow, so I wasn't concentrating on who I was sitting down.
Just what was happening. Like,
I wasn't even processing that.
I was a rapper as a kid. At 18, I would have sold my soul to be at that fucking table. And there's a lot of people who do that, I'm saying, give up their life for that shit. But,
I feel that.
You know what I'm saying?
I think I attribute that more to you 18, you don't really know what you want to do. Like, you might have a general idea, or unless you are fortunate enough to have like that eureka moment with yourself where you're like, this is what I want to do. And that wasn't, I had a couple of different ways to move. And I was just like, okay, my biggest thing was, all right, I'm out of high school now, what do I do? So.
Did you finish high school?
Yeah.
Shit. Now, I know most people be like, they be finishing
with
at like ninth grade. With the Regents?
With the Regents.
Get the fuck, I ain't even get a Regents degree. I ain't gonna hold you.
Wow.
They have Regents.
That's
dope.
So I was always good in school, though.
God damn, I didn't get a Regents degree.
Yeah, I just wouldn't really go to school, but I was thorough.
I
thugged it out. You couldn't be in my crib and not finish.
So
at least for me, like, they wasn't having that. My mom did that.
It sounded like somebody was always had high expectations of you.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they did.
And then
my mama did. I know my dad did. You know, my dad was military and he was in PD.
Yeah, I know he wasn't
a
playing.
strong background.
Yeah, you know, and my mom, she worked for, my birth mother, she worked for Ebony Magazine before she had passed away. But my stepmother, the same way, she's an educator. She worked for the Board of Ed. So in our crib, it was, you know, if you're gonna do it, shoot for the moon, you know, and make sure you do what you're supposed to as well as what you want. So it was always that way in my crib.
So you was used to success and shit, like not like.
I would have been okay.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, like it had
like
none
this
of this
was
happened.
Right.
I definitely, I wouldn't have allowed myself to not be okay.
Yeah.
You know, and I know with me, like, I don't want to say late bloomer, but I was always the type of person where once things clicked, it's kind of like the whole roadmap would just like appear in front of me.
Yeah.
So I would never not allow myself to not be okay or not have some sort of version of success. But I just didn't know where I was going. And I wasn't uncomfortable about that, though. I just, for some strange reason, was like, yo, just keep doing what you're doing. You know?
Listen, as most 18-year-olds are, like, people be thinking because you 18, you grown. No, 18,
Nah,
you don't know.
barely,
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Nah, but you think you do. You think you feel like you know everything.
for real.
Every year you feel like you know more and more.
Yeah.
By the time you get 21, you 21.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Come
because
on.
you always have them instances
Right.
that'll quickly remind you, yeah, you don't know it all.
That's a fact.
Yeah, for real,
You
yo.
know,
Yeah.
Well, especially when you get older and look back.
Yeah,
It's like
I
you realize
I think
you
if
ain't
you're
no
doing
shit.
it right, you
Yeah.
always do that. Like
Exactly.
I still have days where I'm like, damn, I get it now. I'll never know it all. But
Yeah.
you just got to be okay with that fact.
Yeah.
And I think that if I look at it that way, then I'm like, all right, you won't know it all, but you can learn as much as you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you all right with it once you accept that. You feel me?
Yeah. So, we back at the deal.
Mm-hmm.
What made you choose that deal over the other?
I think it was mainly Irv and just the vibe that I had gotten from sitting down with the president of the label. Irv and myself and him talked, and we had a good talk. And they had explained to me that this was their first endeavor in hip hop, and you know it would essentially mean I would be the first hip hop artist on this brand new hip hop label.
Oh.
Which I guess now when I think about it, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But I didn't interpret it as that way. I only looked at the pros of it.
Which was
You
was gonna be the start. You was gonna be.
I knew that if I did well, and I knew that if I was the thoroughbred, for lack of a better way of putting it, then I knew that my stable would always be
Yeah.
you
Good.
know, okay.
Yeah.
For the most part. And I knew that if I did well, it in turn means the label would do well. And if I could usher both myself and them as an entity through those first couple of years or months of establishing themselves, then that's just something that I could look back, you know, within myself and be like, yeah, that was a lot to haul, but you got it to where it's supposed to be. So I just like the challenge of it. And I think the other labels, they were all good, but I think that it was just something about, you know, you kind of know your home when you walk in the door.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like you
No,
just know
get
where
it,
you
yeah.
belong when you walk in the door, I believe. So I felt that when we spoke.
Trust was there and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And we went for it.
Looking at it now, how would you have? Do you regret that deal?
No. No. I can see why people, from their perspective, would look at it and be like, yeah, well, there's probably a lot of room for regret. But I don't, because if I'd have been anywhere else, anytime else with anyone else, then I wouldn't have the exact experiences that I had.
Yeah.
And my timeline would not have unfolded the way that it did.
Yeah, because you still here, you know what I'm saying, thriving
so-
and shit.
No, I don't. regret any of it. Even not for 1 minute. It's like it's one of the most amazing times I ever had in my existence on Earth. So I would never regret it.
That was this is the album when you did when you worked with X and Ja.
Yeah, the Natural, the first album. Well, there were 2 albums. There was the first album and then my sophomore album.
How did that? Well, so you had 2 albums on that. That.
So the first one was with X, so I don't want to cut you off. That was the X on it, right?
Yeah, X was actually X was on both.
Okay.
Because on the first one,
but he was still early with that. What all the noise about?
Yeah, that's the
That's
second
some respect.
one. Right.
Oh, that's the second one.
That's my joint. That was the second one.
Yeah, that was the second one.
that album was hard.
Yeah.
Puff did that album, I think.
Yeah,
right?
Puff. That's what Puff.
I'm a fan, bro.
I appreciate it, bro. Yeah, he know his shit. Nah, but the first album we did Time to Build. So that was me, X, Rule, and Hov. And that was before they all had signed the Def Jam. And then on the sophomore album, we all got back together and we did Usual Suspects.
That was the song.
That shit was crazy.
Usual Suspects.
Was it because I know a lot of times, when I was a kid, I used to just imagine like I'm hearing all 4 of y'all on the album. I'm thinking all y'all literally in the studio and just really going back to back. Until you start writing.
Sometimes it was like that, but not all the time. Right.
The first song, Time to Build, I think me and Rule, if memory serves me correct, I think we did our verses the same day. Yeah, I think me and Rule did our verses the same day. And X and and Hov came in separately and recorded their verses. And at that time, I didn't all know who X was. I was familiar with Hov because of the originators with Jazz, because of Can I Get Open with Original Flavors. So I knew who he was, but I didn't know that his style was different.
Yeah.
And all of this I first heard when I first heard Time to Build. And then on top of that,
wait, so that was like the first time he like switched it up and slowed it down?
Yeah. Or at least the first time that I think the world got to hear him try, or rather just implement a new way of doing with his delivery. And then I didn't know that him and X had
that whole battle,
friendly rivalry. Yeah. So they were actually dissing each other on both verses on the song, but I didn't know. I had to point it out to me. And then Usual Suspects on the second album, that was more of like a family affair. Like we were all in the studio together, like all the Rockefeller dudes, the Rough Rider dudes, the Ink dudes, all of us. Like,
that's crazy.
Fatal was there from Outlaws. Rest in peace to Fatal.
Rest in
my
peace.
bro.
Rest in peace.
Trage came down later verse. The
Tragedy Gaddafi?
Yeah, there's like 3 different.
You know who that is?
Yeah.
That's surprising.
But you remember Percy and Tragedy?
Yeah.
You impressed me if you did that.
Yeah, Percy Chapman. That's right. That's my family. Shout out to Trage. So Trage came through, and then we ended up doing like more than one version of that song. We had like maybe 3 different versions of it. And yeah, everybody was there that time.
Now that had to
for
be
the most part. Yeah,
that's a once in a lifetime. Where that'll never happen now. Everybody's just stoked into who they are.
Jay-Z might not have been there. I definitely remember the Locks were there. I remember X was there. I remember Rule, Flush, Hussein. Yeah, I think Hov might have been the only one who did his verse. Like he wasn't
separate.
there. Yeah.
So that's crazy.
Was that kind of like a new thing at that time? Because before that, most people did it like together. Like everybody came and did their song as a group.
It was like the
big stars usually probably did that because they'd be so busy doing whatever
Actually,
else.
what it was is the technology was changing and it was allowing us to do more. Right. So it was right at the beginning of where people were kind of like, well,
you couldn't like email a song back in the 80s.
It gotta just began. It was just getting to, like, internet wasn't even really being utilized in that sense at that time. But it was enough as to where we didn't have to be in the same space at the same time. So what I think is, if you weren't there, you probably had the track and did it at your own session in the city or whatever, and then they would just have the engineers mix it and we were good.
Oh, that's great. Like, I can only imagine, you know, at those times, you know, like, the competition was intense. Everybody biting at the bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. So, well, clearly the numbers. Well, I was about to say, clearly the numbers had to be good enough for them to push a second album. How did you feel about your the first album? Because this was an independent. This is an independent company, TVT, right? Yeah. So, like, what would be impressive numbers in the independent? And I want to talk about the independent hustle because a lot of the music has globalized so much that it's almost independent, even on a major. You like,
and to a degree, I get where you're coming. Like, to answer the first question, like, they were pretty happy with my first week numbers. I was disappointed, like, because at that time, I think the goal was like to sell 100,000 your first week. Like, if you sold 100,000 units your first week, you were pretty much walking on the moon.
What did you do? What was your number?
We did close to it. We did about 72,000.
Yeah, that's still good. That's good. That was good.
Yeah, but I was.
I know you were like, I want that 100.
Well, at that time, it was like,
I was so proud. I started like crying, and Irv was like, "Yo, what's wrong with you, bro? You did close to 80,000, like your first. That's good."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Nah, that's not." But I always been a hard critic on myself. But at that
that's a winner's mentality.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
But the label was. They were like, "Yo, this is," and it was very unorthodox because I took like 2 years between singles, which was unheard of.
Wow.
So I did Shit's Real, and then I took a whole year between Shit's Real and I'm So High, Master I See to come out, and no one had done that. Like the label,
probably still at this point. I mean, well.
They were nervous. They were like, nobody waits this long, but ironically enough, it had worked out. And I took a whole year, and then I took like another damn near 6 to 8 months to let the album out.
Why did you take so long? What made you take so long?
On my side, it was me, because I think now looking back, I was getting used to the regiment of constantly recording and constantly writing and constantly making songs, and it wasn't like that before I had a deal. Like I would just put a beat on and whatever
it became a job.
And exactly, it started to become a job. So I think I was trying to adapt to okay, it's not all fun. And
I was becoming an artist.
Say that way, but there's amounts of responsibility involved. And it's weird because this is what you love to do. So it's very rare you love to do something and you stop and tell yourself, like, yo, we have to do this because we have to.
It's no longer a hobby.
Like, so I had to adjust to, this isn't just your hobby. And then, like I said, I'm a tough critic. And like you were saying, the competition was fierce. So if I didn't feel that what I was doing was able to stand next to whatever was out, then I would be like, scratch that, or let's do it again, or, and Irv would always reassure me, be like, you can't be so critical on yourself that you're not moving forward.
Overthinking.
Right, you're overthinking. So I had to adjust to all of those things. And then also, like, just as a person, I was always like you're gonna know when the time is right, when the vibe is right. Like, so I'm big on that. So I didn't see the urgency in rushing myself to complete something. I said to myself, if this is how you've been painting, then keep painting the way you've been painting. Just keep all this shit in mind. But don't change what you do. And so we got through it, and it was cool.
I mean, I want to point out a spot that you was talking about that I think all professionals go through. Because I don't want to just say artists, because it's artists, but it's also professionals in any aspect where it's like, I turning that I love what I do and realizing that now that you've made it there, that this shit is a job now too, and there's deadlines, there's responsibility.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
What years was this? What years was this? Early 90s, right?
Yeah, this was like 95.
Right. Also, you had like a content shift, like with the content of rap. What we're talking about is changing because you know it was almost you had like the fun and games, but then the gangster rap started to really take over more and more. And you had a decision to make if you're going to go further, right? What you're going to do, and that's kind of hard. But it's kind of hard to do, which I kind of get what you're saying, right? Like you got to make a decision. Do I really want to go this way, and then I got to keep this, and how long does that last, or do you know?
And that's a good point.
No, sure. I can
didn't
get that.
really encounter that until in between the first and second album. Because the musical landscape was starting to change in between my first album and my second album.
Right.
People was getting serious money in between that time. You know what I'm saying?
But also what you're rapping about is still cool. Like you still don't want to come out because now you got to make a decision. You don't want to come out and not miss and miss the mark. You know what I'm saying? So you want to try to get in the middle, right? I got you.
Because now you know your fan base and you know what they expect of you and you know the image that they expect of you. And you know what they expect when they come to eat at your restaurant.
But are you keeping in line with that vision even though the times is changing and still being relevant? Like that's a balance.
It's a balance.
Yeah, but how do you get there when you're in the middle? Like he's saying, he's young, he's thrown into it, and now he got to make a decision. He got this hype, so now people expect something of him. But now they know who he is.
Yo, that's
now you expecting me to come, and now I'm writing some stuff, and it might be hot to you, but to me, I don't feel it's ready to go.
It worked, and sometimes it did.
Right.
Yeah, that pressure's ill. Right? That ain't gonna lie.
And like Biggie said, you're not gonna promise that they love you. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You just don't know. Like sometimes you wish that you could do it.
Exactly. And like I said, sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't, or sometimes it worked and it didn't. It was just a matter of what the trade-off was. Right.
Yeah.
So like, case in point, I caught a lot of flack from the streets for doing the song with Pop. Shout out to
because back then he was because
the shiny
the
suit.
definition of shiny suit like
that's
that.
right. I forgot about that.
And all that.
The Mase
with the video,
Yeah.
we deliberately put me in a shiny suit. Like
that was a conscious effort.
Yeah. Like the director and my team were talking and they were like, yo, we're deliberately putting you in this.
And you know what's ill in that video if you watch it? It looked like you really didn't want to do that shit. I ain't lying. Watching that video,
They wanted me to dance and all that shit. And you could see the unsure in my face.
I know, that's what I said. Watching that video, come to think about it now, like, wow, that's crazy.
But it's my most successful song rotation wise.
Right.
So
you was on to something, but it's
like that.
It's almost that's that deal with the devil shit.
Sometimes you don't like it, but this is what it is. Right.
In the streets, and I picked that beat. Puff didn't pick that beat. He picked a completely different beat for me.
Oh wow.
Wow. So when I went to their studio, the studio they had at the time was Daddy's house. But when I went to the studio and D-Dot was playing me tracks coming on Nasheem, shout out to Hitman.
For real, I mean, a lot of music,
that's
soundtracks to my life.
That's,
you know what I'm saying?
That's Stevie J with them, right?
Yeah,
Stevie J was with them.
Yeah. But Puff had Prestige, he was there too. But Puff had a beat for me picked out, like where he was, and it was really more street, and it sounded more.
Did he ever use that beat for somewhere else?
No, but he did tell me to use. Can't hold me down. Can't nobody hold me down.
Lord. Wow. Wow, yo, you ever said that on any other podcast? You ever said that before?
I don't think so.
So we got some juicy shit, bro.
You heard it here first.
Juicy
He
shit.
wanted me to use Can't Nobody Hold Me Down. But then I said no, and in the wild shit, it was like a month or so later, he and Mase recorded the song. Yeah. And he was like, yo, I want you to hear what I did. He was like in the convertible Benz shit, and we ran into each other. He's like, yo, listen to what I did. And I was like, see, I wouldn't have did that.
Yeah.
Like, not that,
I know what you mean. I know.
But I was like, that was for you to do. I wouldn't have did what you did to it. So everything works out the way it's supposed to.
Right.
But shout out to Bad Boy.
Shout out to Bad Boy. God damn.
The day you made it work.
Yo. I mean, look, you know what I'm saying? You're talented, so you was going to make it happen. But
I won't be here telling you about that song, right?
Yeah,
you ain't push that.
Right.
So the second album, how did you feel about that one? As far as commercial performance?
That one was a little different because I think pardon me, I think the beauty with everyone's first album is you're a virgin in the sense of you don't know the music industry. So you don't know SoundScan, and you don't know BDS, and you don't know key regions, and you don't know blue list, pink list. You don't know demographics. You're not thinking of any of these things.
Yeah.
You're just listening to music, and it's telling you what to say to it. But once you get in the game, that sort of kind of wears off because now you're seeing.
Yeah.
It's like a magician showing you the magic trick.
Unveiling itself.
So the second album, you kind of, I think, you kind of place things more strategically. Like if you listen to anyone's second album, it's usually more strategic than the first.
That's a fact. You're right about that.
Yeah, it's that's when you get the sophomore slump because
right. And
because you don't make it better. So they start trying to overthink that album.
And you kind of using your demo songs on the first album.
Yeah.
Like I said, your songs in your first joint, they're just you being you.
Yeah.
Right.
Your songs on your
the second one is structured.
It's the determination of what you need to do based on where you land.
Yeah, that's a fact. Or what image you got and
right,
shit like
or
that.
where you want to go, where you want your trajectory to go. So me personally, I have mixed emotions about the second album. I love it as a body of work. I love it for the collaborations I was able to do. I love it for being a part of my catalog, but it's definitely not my favorite, and I definitely wasn't as in tune with myself as I would have wanted to have been.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
So, yeah. I can imagine that, like, just... Because now, because you know more, you plan for more things. It's not just... I'm just trying to make a great album. Now I'm trying to make a great album, and I'm trying to hit numbers. I'm trying to make this.
You know
what I'm saying?
You want to be epic.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be epic and great. You know what I'm saying? But, but...
And you also, as we was mentioning, and along with all of that, you still have to find a way to keep up with the time.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to be the times, but you have to marry yourself to the times. So what part of you can you do that would work for right now?
Yeah.
And I think a little of that with me was all over the place. Like I didn't know if I wanted to pop street, full pop, street only, something for the lady.
Yeah, that gotta be crazy.
That's hard, dude.
Right.
That's hard, dude.
So you have all of these things that you're like, all right,
right.
What Frankenstein are we making today?
Right.
And at that point, I only knew that I had all these jigsaw pieces in front of me. I didn't really know. I wasn't certain enough about myself as to be able to say, okay, this we keep, this we leave. I just pretty much went with everything.
And the average fan is not noticing that you have to do that as an artist.
No,
they just want the finished product and they go
exactly.
with that.
They just want what they want.
They got the anticipation. The last one was like this,
and then there's that too because you don't want to let them down. So
that's a big. You know what I'm saying? You really be thinking about it too.
Not only that too, I'm falling off too because that can hurt you too, and then you're like, damn, I'm back on
regular, and I was a celebrity at one time. So
Right.
that's a ill feeling.
It's a lot of pressure.
Word, that is a lot of pressure. No, it is. Especially after a hit.
Yeah.
That's what's really scary. After a hit.
Right.
Right. I remember.
And then don't let your peers start heating up with you.
And then
That's a
my
fact.
God,
So that's more pressure.
Right.
He was behind me. How you getting? He right.
Or even, you just have so many opinions being given to you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to ask you too. Was because I remember
How do
G
you
was
know who to
saying.
listen to? Right.
G was talking about how the times was changing, was transitioning. Right. When it was transitioning, was there people telling you, what was the people in your corner telling you? Was they like, maybe you should try this? Or stay down the way
It was mixed. Because I would have my set of folk that I grew up with, my day ones, and then I would have my set of folk that I'm with every day and I have a working relationship with, and we're here every day. And then I would have my constituents in terms of peers that are in the game, and then you have your family and all that shit. And you just hear all of these, that you should this, you should that. What Hope said, everybody could tell you how to do it, they never did it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so with me, I just started hearing so much from everybody. I was like, I gotta back up and get away from all this shit.
Yeah.
We actually recorded some of it in Bearsville, which is like upstate New York, and you sleep there.
Right.
It's a big studio facility. You
wow.
sleep there, and it's a compound, and you can eat there, and you're sealed off from everything and everyone. And then that didn't work because I'm like, all right, now I'm not seeing anything to inspire me.
Yeah.
So I was stealing the truck, driving to the tunnel on Sunday, and then driving back upstate after I leave the
you
tunnel.
was in the tunnel. You was in the. I've never been to the tunnel. I had a friend who always told me about the tunnel, and he was just like, it was
the tunnel was crazy.
The
tunnel was crazy. But, it was just that thing, and whatever it was, I knew that I had a whole new set of weight on my shoulders, but I also knew I was like, yo, you here now, so you gotta get through it. You gotta make it work, and you gotta make it lightning. And you just take it from there.
So the second album drops, it did what it did. Now, because you said you only did 2 albums on that.
Yeah, I ended up leaving TVT between the second album coming out and the third album just getting underway.
How does a person leave a label? I'm sure, I think back then they used to do like 7-album contracts and stuff like that.
Well, I was fortunate in the sense that the day I decided to part with them, they didn't want to pursue anything. I didn't want to continue my relationship with them. And we both just amicably agreed to
part ways. Man, you got a big break, man.
Yeah, you got a break.
I did and I didn't.
Wow.
Well, it was a very nasty ordeal that led to the me saying
I had enough.
Yeah.
This isn't between Irv, right? This is just I don't want to get in with Irv.
At that point, it kind of, from my perspective, it felt like everyone versed me.
Okay.
Because Irv was on his way to fully being a part of Def Jam's infrastructure.
Yeah.
But he was still my A&R at TVT.
That's a conflict of interest.
The label, while they had very good intent, they just had a lot of issues with getting good personnel, and the label eventually just became like an ATM for people that wanted to transition between labels. So if you worked radio promotions and you wanted a big check, you would probably go to TVT.
You talking about the staff?
Right.
Okay.
So they had a lot of staffing issues that they couldn't correct. They couldn't. Yeah. They just couldn't.
You couldn't call. You couldn't retain. It was just.
I mean, pretty much all the cons of them being a brand new hip hop label and not having personnel that knew the culture and understood the culture. It all just came to a boiling point. And then with me, what they would do is they would compensate with mistakes or errors by like just giving me money. And in the beginning,
oh man,
that
it's like
was
the golden
cool.
handcuffs.
Right.
Oh,
So it was
man.
cool in the beginning because I'm like, all right, great. I have money I wasn't counting on today, but all that money in the end is recoupable. So you're not really giving me anything.
so
you're pretty much just
loaning you money.
you're pretty much loaning me my own money. Because you're pretty much just like, okay, yeah, you could have whatever you want, but right, but we have this. You're gonna recoup this back from us, so
did you have to recoup that?
oh yeah, it's contractually part of the deal. But I mean, in the end,
So how do you recoup that
in the
without
split-
putting out another album?
well, I had done enough where they could have moved forward. They didn't opt to do that because I didn't finish the third album. But they pretty much, after my attorney and them spoke, they pretty much were like, yo, all debts are forgiven. Which that's the part that never happens. No one is.
Yeah.
But do they write that off on taxes? Like, you always hear about people saying
I mean, they
stuff
could
like
have
that.
at the end of the
I'm
year
sure they
used
do.
me as a write-off, and I'm pretty certain they did. But they, in terms of legality, they had every right to make my life miserable.
Yeah.
Like they could have dragged me into court, and we could have been going through a whole bunch of back and forth, but they didn't do that. They were like, "You can go, and we'll go too." And that's rare that happens, especially for the amount of allocated funds that were involved. But they were like, "Yo, we're okay with it."
Yeah, and I heard TVT they don't like to let people go. I remember that watching one of them interviews. They were like, "Yo,
there's not many of us that got out alive."
Yeah,
so
he gave
I think
Lil Jon hell.
Yeah, I was gonna say Lil Jon eventually. I know Pitbull went through his share of experiences, and so I think me, Lil Jon, and Pitbull are like the ones that, we beat the lion and got out of the Coliseum.
Probably made the most money in hip hop, and then I think they had 9 Inch Nails or some shit too.
Yeah, they
You know what I'm
definitely
saying?
that was their forte. Like, shout to Trent Reznor, very cool dude, like good dude. So they had 9 Inch Nails, they had Seven Dust. They had Avenged Sevenfold. They had all of these alternative music acts that we might not have known, but in the alternate music arena, they
was making it happen. They had an impact.
9 Inch Nails is like,
it's legendary. Yeah. I don't even listen, but I know 9 Inch Nails. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, they was hitting.
Exactly.
That's a fact.
So that, like, just to have somebody of that caliber. They had Buju Banton. They had
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they had Gil Scott Heron.
Right.
That's
how.
Oh no, they had a team right there.
That's our boy. Gil Scott is official. Now let's do this morning.
Yeah, no, Gil Scott is official.
They had Gil Scott, and they had Bounty Killer, my man. So they had a diversified.
They had a lineup, a nice lineup.
Yeah, and there was so many things they could have had that had they done it. But as I said, if you're not ready, you're just not ready.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, hold on. Whose phone is that, B? Put that shit on silent, please.
You know what I mean?
Whoever
Yeah, but
it
this
is.
is important. I ain't lying.
Silent.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right
You know what
about
I'm
that.
saying?
You're 100% right about that.
Yeah.
And don't put me on the spot like that.
Word.
Don't never do that again.
I said whoever. You took it that way.
Apple phones don't even
I ain't gonna say I said whoever. You don't put me on the spot.
What?
Yeah. Apple don't do that.
How you say
Apple
Don't.
So, this motherfucker still with this shit, B.
You don't hear it though.
I hear it,
It
motherfucker.
sounds like a hospital waiting room.
Yeah.
He's a nasty man.
Boy, you gotta go, bro.
Yeah, get him out of here, B. Get him out of here. Nah, but after that, what happens next? Like, once you get dropped from the label, what year is that actually?
Oh my God. It was I think we were like right on the verge of hitting the millennium. So it must have been around 98, 99, within that time frame. And it was weird because, like I said, I didn't get up that morning saying to myself, all right, screw TVT. Like, it didn't. It all took me by surprise. But something told me, like, yo, just relax with this shit for a minute. And it was actually cool because I think it happened for me so fast and so crazy that I didn't have any opportunity to digest what was going on. So the first thing I had said to myself was, like, give all this shit back. And you're going to go through some things, but in the end, you're going to be better off for it. And I think I needed that. You know, like now I could look back and I could hear myself telling myself that, and I could say, well, yeah, you needed that period to just assess, reassemble, and digest everything. And so, ironically enough, it came at my own choosing.
Word.
You know, and I knew.
And you know, it's funny, like that's usually the time I would think where most artists start feeling trapped, even in their own success, where it's like, yo, I'm all this success, but shit is just moving so fast. You know, and you know, it's, a lot of times they turn to drugs and shit like that. Because I was watching Whitney Houston, and Whitney Houston is at the top of her game, but she felt like she couldn't live her life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Shit was, you know, she's having, you know, lesbian relationships, or allegedly. I don't want to say it was.
Okay. I thought you read that somewhere.
No, that was in a documentary.
Allegedly.
Very allegedly.
Yeah, but like she was her best friend Robin or something. That's when she met Bobby.
Yeah.
You know, but these is things where you're acting out because you want to do what you want to do, but you can't do it because you got so much responsibility. Even if it's success, and you had the luxury of really just like, let me take a back seat and just see what just to process what happened.
I wouldn't say it was luxury of, because
oh well, you didn't have no choice.
I say it that way because I say, if you would have asked me that morning, is it my wish to totally give back everything lifestyle-wise that I've received and that I was used to at that point?
What do you mean?
Like, hell fucking no, nigga. Like, no. What?
What do you mean give back? Like, you had to give back the money and
I didn't literally have to, like, cough up a budget.
Yeah.
No, but life changed. I knew from walking away from my deal, life wasn't going to be the same. I knew it was going to turn into.
That's what I was talking about. That was my point before.
Right, like
going
you know
back
how
to that?
you're used to just going shopping and doing whatever you want and smoking weed a mile a minute. New sneakers this and new car that and new jewelry here and that brought that. All that shit was going to go away.
Wow.
Down to the house I lived in.
Wow.
So I said to myself, it's gonna hurt. You're gonna go through a lot.
Yeah, you paid for that.
In the end, you're gonna be a better person for it. So you can either give all this shit back and take the time you need, or you can go the way you're going and eventually you're gonna end up a train wreck. What do you want to do with yourself?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be a train wreck. I didn't feel that it was worth that being my outcome.
That's very prideful. Like,
that's being honest with yourself too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, you pay for freedom. That's a pay to know. Yeah. I'm giving up.
You pay for peace of mind.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That shit ain't
peace
free.
Peace of mind is expensive. I say that to people all the time, but I think that unbeknownst to myself at that time, I needed peace of mind. So whatever it was in a grander scheme of things that led me to that moment to being like, nah, bro, I'm good for a minute. I needed that. Or something must have been telling me you need that.
Yeah.
You know,
that's crazy.
That's how it went. You
can lose yourself like that.
That's a fact. Really, that's what Eminem song is.
Right.
Lose yourself. That's what that
lose
is.
yourself in that whole thing. You know, you don't even realize what's going on no more.
You're a kid in a candy store in the industry. You're getting everything that you would ever want in life. So you got to know how to handle that. You got to be willing to handle that, and you got to know how to move with all of that.
And you was what, 21?
Yeah, about that.
Can you imagine telling us?
I was probably what, 21, 23, somewhere within that range.
You telling a 23-year-old to handle that type of life decision? Like, that's crazy. Yeah, like you.
But then again, the industry does force you to live a faster life. You grow up faster. So at that point, I could at least say I understood what the ramifications of my decisions were. I might not have understood every decision being posed, but I damn sure understood the ramifications.
So what happens after? So what happens after this? Because you don't seem like a dude who stopped.
Nah, I went through my own motion. At first, I had ended up. I went through a bunch of shit, bro. Like, at first, I ended up moving to East Mauritius in the Hamptons, and I was there for maybe 4 years, 3 years.
Doing music or nothing?
No, I was like totally musicless. Like, I wasn't even listening to music.
This motherfucker was a monk.
Year and a half, I was just nothing real. I wasn't really doing much. I was just chilling and thinking and absorbing, and then things start to set in, you know. So I moved from New York because I wanted to get away from everything, and then eventually I ended up back in the city. But it was hard. Like, I wasn't doing shows, and you know, there are a couple of people that were making it difficult for me to have viable income in the industry. So, you know, initially it was like, all right, so what you would do? You want to go back to the street with it? And that shit made no sense to me. I'm like, that shit was cool when I was like 18 or 17, but I'm not running around in the street and the world knows my face. And how long is that going to last?
Yeah.
You know, so from there I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then an opportunity came out of nowhere to go to Japan to go on tour.
With who? Just you?
Yeah. A good friend of mine at the time, this was like during the whole MySpace craze.
Oh, so that's like
late 90s, I think, right?
Yeah, so
early
founders
2000.
had reached out on MySpace, and
that's like 2005, 2006.
Somewhere around that time. We on a jet and we fly to Japan, and I did a 10-city tour. Osaka, Nagoya, Tokyo, Kyoto, Shizuna, and like a couple of other towns. But it was a learning experience. It showed me a lot. And then I came home.
How did they receive you over there? Like,
very cool. Like, it was very difficult because I was like, all right, here I am in the States, like not at all fucking with music, only to find myself on the other side of the world completely fucking with music. And they fucking with me too. So it was kind of crazy. And I think that was the initial spark of maybe I should try this independent. I think that was the genesis of that. So me and a good friend of mine had started recording music together, and he did the managerial stuff, and little by little, I started going across the world and performing spot dates here and there. And I would fly back home, and you know, I ended up selling weed for like a couple of months. You know, so I'm like coming home moving pounds of weed and shit, but then flying to like Denmark and shit like that. So it was
that's
weird.
crazy, yeah.
You know, but I was just going along, figuring out how to get my feet back on the ground and where life was taking me. And then eventually, I actually ended up like working like a regular job because I had moved from the Hamptons, and then money had gotten difficult for me, and I ended up having to live with my dad in like River Park Towers, which is like Oz, if anybody ever seen it.
Yes.
Where's that
I
at?
know Oz.
No, but where's River?
Young mom trying to watch that. We had no business watching Oz.
It's like right off Cedric Ave. Shout out to everybody at River Park. But like they like throw TVs off the roofs just for fun and shit over there. So I'm like, all right, we back in the hood, crazy. What are we gonna do? But I ended up getting a job, and it was just weird because that led me to meeting my wife, and it also led me to getting involved in locksmithing and access entry. The place I work for, that's what they did.
You saying it real conniving, like, I wish I knew this at 17.
Yeah, right. And they kept telling me, they were like, because I was good at like damage control for the company. Like if they had clients that were upset or whether they would put me on the phone and I would like smooth everything out and reassure everyone. And they were like, yo, you're really good at quality control, X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. But then they would always tell me, yo, you'd be good as a technician. And ironically enough, I met my wife, whose cousin just so happened to own a contracting business. And one day I went with him to the Apple store because they were his client. It was the one on Columbus Circle. And they just had to do something in the Genius bars. I think they were exchanging like the LED screens in the Genius bars. So I was helping them pull them out, whatever. And I just randomly saw an employee at Apple struggling to get in the gate where the inventory was. So I took a flathead and I like jiggled the lock. I got him in. And my wife's cousin was like, if I introduce you to someone who knows how to teach you how to do all of this, would you do it? And I was like, what do you mean would I do? He's like, yeah, because you know you're a rapper and all you do is smoke weed and all that shit. And like, and like, it was like Marty McFly in me. And I was like, don't dare me. Like, which is what I started doing. And long story short, I met my brother Ossie, who taught me everything about locksmithing and security installations. And that was like for about a 1.5 year period. And the next thing I know, one day he was like, yo, you don't need me anymore, start your business. And I started my company, Embassy Locksmith, and that was like 15 years ago. We're celebrating this year actually being the 15th year.
Hold on, I need a...
That's what I was going to say. Word.
And so little by little, like I would go change like regular locks. And I've been through it all. I've been in the hood. And yo, you look like Mike Geronimo. Yeah.
I do? Damn, yo.
Yo, son, look who doing this. But it was good for me because I would put myself deliberately through the experience because it's very humbling and it kept me grounded and it helped me build a sense of appreciation. And it's very gratifying to know that you run your own lemonade stand and you did all the work on your own and you put all those hours in, and no matter how difficult it was, you did it.
Yeah.
And I needed that, and that's something music wasn't giving me.
Yeah.
And so, you know, life took over and I was fine and my business gradually started to grow and
I like hearing that.
I like hearing this shit right here, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, this shit get me to see 15 years in the business to hear that shit grow.
Right there. That's a fact. Like him and Dr. Sick could tell you because they all thought I was crazy. Right. But like Doc and them and some of my friends, they was like, "You gonna do what? What do you mean? You're a rapper. What do you mean?" But they couldn't see what I could see. And I always remembered the guy who taught me telling me, he's like, take a look at that lot. Take a look at that door. Ask yourself how many doors are in New York City. You know how many locksmiths clear $1 million before X.
Oh my God.
And then to me, that was all I needed.
So that's your retirement plan. Not that if you ever get so old and you can't do it, you sell that bitch tenfold.
Yeah, a lot of
you know what I'm saying?
You can own that business for a good 5 years. You can make a profit, and then you can sell it to the next person or whatever you wanted to do. But that was just one of the incentives that when I thought about it, I was like, okay, this is your gasoline for your car to like, in terms of where you want to go.
You still do it now?
Yeah. What do you mean? I'll still literally go. A matter of fact,
do you have like a staff now and stuff like that?
Yeah, I have employees and we have a website and My wife does administration, and we have clients we've had for 10 years. We have clients we've had for 3 years. We have clients that we're just getting. So thank God. It's all.
That shit is beautiful, man.
Appreciate it.
Yo, like, man, yo, I'm blown to, you know, because this is the stuff. This is you know, black wealth. This is black ownership. I'm sure it was easier to to fix a lock that for a company you owned. Like that, you know, it wasn't even.
My whole thing was, I could never, since I was a kid, I just never was good with working for somebody.
Yeah.
Because it just never made sense to me.
Yeah.
And then as I got older and I got into what I was doing, and I was like, well, the payoff isn't just you keeping the lion's share of your profit. If you own a business, you still have expenditures. You still have things that determine whether you end in the black or you end in the red. Yeah. So just because you own a business doesn't mean that you're doing okay. Like, it took us a lot to just break even. Like, and they'll readily tell you most businesses fail within the first 3 years of their inception.
You gotta get the capital.
Right, so I was just glad that we made it to year 4.
For real.
And I was just glad that for all the things I was going through, I could see like the light at the end of the tunnel. So for me, it did so many things that music couldn't do for me. And then it was weird because I took a lot of what I learned in the world of music and I used it for my small business. Like a lot of people don't understand, when you get into music, you are a politician in a sense as well.
Why do you say that?
Because you have to campaign for people to buy your project. And anytime you release an album, it's like you're running in a primary. You're going to
state to state, and
you're going to your key regions. You're having parties. You're meeting
I never
radio
thought of it like that.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Absolutely. Being an artist is not just you writing and spitting and you know, there's so many other things. And what I noticed when I opened my business was a lot of the people that do it are very brash. They're not that informed. And if they are informed, they're not informing who's giving them the revenue. And so I would always think about, if you're a people person in hip hop, imagine if you were a people person in this industry. Because the one thing that I could see that they weren't doing was fully informing a client, making them feel good about their choice, and reassuring them that no matter what goes on, you're always there. And that's kind of like stuff that you do through your music.
This is how he differentiated himself from the market.
Yeah.
And this is why they brought his business as opposed to somebody else's.
Right. I had to find an angle.
You know what I'm saying?
And I noticed there was a lot of price gouging in my business. So I remember thinking about Paid in Full, the movie, and I was like, okay, remember how when A was in the lobby by the mailbox and he was like, yo, he could do more and he could sell it for cheaper. Make that apply to your business. So instead of me raping somebody financially for installing something, I would keep the fees reasonable and I would keep them where they were competitive rates, but ours are just a little bit lower than anyone else that you could find that's top 10. And I knew that would be more incentive as long as I did an impeccable job. And that was the foundation for how I kind of started slowly building up my client base.
They call that low-cost leadership, bro.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Right. And so it's weird because I just started noticing, I said, you may think that like this has nothing to do with this, but everything in your life is relative. And my dad would always tell me that. So I was like, you're doing okay with this because you were in music, because you were able to identify the components that they don't utilize or choose to ignore in this field of business. But if you take that and apply it here, then that's going to differentiate you. That's going to be your angle. And so I did. And then the next thing I know, out of no fucking where, it comes like Drink Champs.
That's dope, though. That's dope.
I'm kind of okay, like, just right here, being an old man on a rock, like, just watching shit. And life is strange, like, man plans and God lie. So the next thing I know, Nori and Capone had convinced me to go on Drink Champs, and here we are again.
Oh man,
it's so here we are again.
I like this because this is showing your business acumen on another level to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if many people ask you about this or try to get in detail with this.
Not many.
You know what I'm saying? But
but it's cool. I appreciate it.
You know what I'm saying? They talk about black empowerment and, being smart and diversifying your portfolio. That's what you did. You didn't just rely on music. You know what I'm saying?
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Like I said, I knew I wasn't going to allow myself to do or become nothing. I'm just grateful that whenever the universe puts something in front of me, I eventually would be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
It just hit your eureka moment.
Right. And I would just be like, if you could just help me identify these moments faster, then I'll be all right. And so I'm just grateful for that.
So in between it, so you running a successful business for 15 years. God bless you. The shit ain't easy.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
What was you doing? Any music in between that?
Sporadically, like here and there, but music to me is like religion, bro. Like if I have a religion, it would be music. So I just think
that's a good way to put that.
Word.
That's a very good way to put that because it's culture.
It is culture.
That's the name of the next album.
Nah.
That'll be dope, though. That'll be dope. Nah, that's a fact. That'll be dope.
It'll be music. But it is. It's a spiritual thing. You know, I mean, if you value it, if you appreciate the fact that you're able to be a part of that fabric that, you know, every artist you've ever heard from every genre, you're part of that fabric.
Yeah.
Whether you realize it or not. So it's spiritual to me, and if I can't find myself in every sense devoted to it, it made no sense to do. Because I would only be letting myself down, or I would tell myself, like, nigga, that's trash, you better than that.
Yeah.
Like, and if I didn't feel I could get in my zone, I wouldn't. So every now and again, I would get the itch to record. And then I would have those moments where life would kind of like throw something my way, and I would be like, why does this shit keep bothering me? Like, I'm pretty much behind it or left it behind me. But it keeps, for some strange reason, like, yo, I'm not done with you.
Yeah. Like we need one more from
right. So I just stopped running from it. And like I said, here we are. So I'm actually finishing the project up now.
Called what?
It's called 3016. My dad, was in the military in NYPD. My dad's badge number was 3016.
Wow.
But he's the one, before he passed away, like,
God bless him.
Rest in peace to my
Rest
dad.
in peace.
But my dad was like, you know, like before he passed away, my dad was who he was. He was always like, like, where's the check? You know, like with the music shit or whatever. But before he died, it was like the first time where he was like, yo, I was on YouTube and like there's people talking about you in Spain and England and Russia and all these different places, and I can't fucking believe they're talking about my kid. And he's like, what's wrong with you? You gotta get back out there. And it just fucked me up. I was like,
that's very
he's seen it.
Like, all those years, he never said any of that. And then for him to say that, I was like, wow. And you know, I said, yo, if I ever feel that way about it, I promise you I'll get back out there. And he's like, no, you gotta promise me you'll get back out there. These people want you out there. And then ironically enough, once it started happening, like, I think there was just one point where I was sitting there and I was like, okay, so I have like 6 songs done in a 3-day period.
Oh man, you was in your bag right there.
Yeah, it was like right after Drink Champs. Like, it was just so weird because actually the night that we did Drink Champs, we were supposed to go in the studio. I believe it was me, Nori Capone, Flush, and Tragedy. And somehow or another, something had happened with each of us where this one had to leave, that one had to do something. And I was just there with the studio time. And my cousin Infrared, shout out to Infrared from Rough Riders.
Oh yeah, I know him.
He lives in Miami, and he just popped up at the studio. And the next thing I know, we had recorded like 3 songs that night, 2 songs that night. And I was like, this is just very strange. And it was just something with me that was like, okay, now there's this.
Yeah.
Now there's this. And so between then and now, shout out to Toomp. I got me and Toomp.
What?
Yeah, me and Toomp.
Oh, man.
Mr. Lee that worked with Face Mob, the Scarface. Shout out to Scarface.
Shout out to Scarface.
We got something. Damn, I don't even know if I was okay to say that, but yeah, I got.
We got all the exclusive, boy.
I went to Los Angeles and I worked with a lot of people in LA. I can't even say because I can't, just because my manager's like, yo, not yet. But
they want to do the proper presentation.
Yeah, everything just started like just falling in.
So this is a career all over again, really. Basically, starting from another.
My guy's pulling the Nas, B.
Well, he's in the same lane as Nas, to be honest with you. You know, and
pulling that King's disease.
Yeah,
Like, if
go
you
get
if
Hit
you
Boy
give one,
and
you don't have to
get
give
it.
2
That's
more,
right.
B, son.
What's up with Hit Boy? You can't get Hit Boy
Yeah,
at
you
all.
can get old, man, because I ain't gonna hold you. Rod was telling me about that King's disease, and I was like,
Now, shout to
And
God.
then I heard that, I said, oh my God.
It's a solid.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So,
but it's kind of that's like what I will say is I think that vibe that Nas has where he's like, yo, I enjoy making music.
that's what it feel like, yo. That's what it feel like.
That's the vibe.
Yeah, it wasn't for money. It was
wasn't
just
for
a
money.
real rap. Real
man.
rap.
And that's liberating.
And I think that's where you at, though, because
Right, that's what I was saying.
you got so many other avenues where you getting other avenues where you making money. So making this music doesn't depend on making this music. Now is back to the fun. It's back to making an impact. It's back to make how does this contribute to my legacy?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? As opposed to this gotta be number one.
Well,
It's gotta be
there's
you know
a
what I'm saying?
liberation that comes from not having a responsibility of contractually being linked to a label.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you still got fans out there.
Yeah,
still
got
You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you still fans.
It's
There's still
that
a lane
and
for you.
Yeah, and
Right.
when you don't have to worry about it in the sense of how am I going to pay my bills,
Yeah, man.
then you don't have those figurative handcuffs the industry puts on artists. Like, I don't give a shit.
Word.
Like, the truth be told, I mean, not to sound that way about it, but I mean, I'm damn near 50 years old. It's either you like me or you don't. It's either
right.
You dig it or you will or you won't. And it's either I make something for you or I don't. And I can live with all of the above.
Yeah.
You know, the freedom comes from financially, you know, monetarily speaking, the return you're seeking is all based on the revenue that you put into your project. And that's why I said, again, we were speaking earlier, like, a lot of people are under the perception that, like, all right, if you make a profit, your business is successful. And yeah, that's true to an extent, but a lot of it also has to do with operating cash, with revenue to keep
To keep that business going.
To keep it going.
Right, all of that counts.
You understand what I'm saying? And so
cash is the blood.
Profit is
You know what I'm
something
saying?
different. Profit is something different.
Right.
Profit for the business and what's your profit is totally
It's
different.
two totally different
things.
things.
Right. Your business profited, but
right.
did you profit? That's
Right.
different.
And all I
That's
said
different,
to
right.
myself, I was like, at the end of the day, if I'm able to do it and I can through the numbers see that, okay, this was a worthwhile endeavor. I don't want the world. I don't need the world. I always say that. Like, I'm fortunate enough to everything in life I would ever need. I have. I got a beautiful family. My kids are the
at 50, yeah, man. I know I ain't clapping, B. Can I get a handshake for that, B? You know what I'm saying?
And I just mean that
to find that peace.
Yeah,
everybody
bro.
don't find that.
Come on, I got my kids. I got my wife. Thank God.
Health.
You know.
Most important.
I work in a place where mentally, I see people coming with
amazing.
I already know.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right,
so everything else you get out of life past that shit is all cherries on top, bro. It's not gonna make or break me to get any of those things. The main things that anyone would want to have in their human experience, being here, I have those things. So that gives me rocket fuel. You understand?
Yeah. When is the album coming out? Or you don't know yet?
No, well now I think because they made me push it back, but it's coming out in the third or second quarter of 23, the year we're heading into.
Okay.
But there's some material that's out now, and I know during the holidays, like I gotta shoot another vid, I think in a week, and I think like the shit, the good, like the shit is getting ready to drop. So I'm happy. Yeah.
Yo, I mean, happy.
You proud of this? You proud of this work?
Like a motherfucker, nigga.
I like that. I like
that. In my life, cause I just wanted to be able to be like, yo, if I could outdo the natural, then I'm happy. I don't give a fuck. I'm cool. And like, I listen to the project now, and I'm just like, excited. Yeah, I'll pinch myself and be like, yo, that's you and that's such and such. And
so you got pieces on the album. I'm not asking you who. You got pieces on the album.
Man. I didn't mean to keep you this long.
And we're not finished yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not even finished yet.
I didn't mean to keep you this long, but
I'm cool.
The conversation then took a turn.
Right. We got intimate here. That was
and I liked it because it wasn't, I really didn't. I found out something that I was not expecting. Be like fucking they laughing at over there.
No. Because they don't understand what a word means.
Anyway, to know that a black man is running a company for 15 years after there was points where you were at low points where, you know what I'm saying, where you
gonna kill you, make
you know what I'm saying, and you turned them that lemon into lemonade. This shit is amazing. This is what I want to hear. You know what I'm saying? This is you know what I'm saying? This is what people need to hear, because some people people put all their eggs into a basket, and then when that basket breaks all the eggs, they feel like they gotta die, and you can't do that. You still have to go on. You know what I'm saying? No matter what, you gotta keep fucking going. You know what I'm saying?
I think the thing that I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for me. What I learned the most about adversity is it's not you saying, am I gonna accept what comes with it? Yeah. It's more you saying, I really don't give a fuck what comes with it. I accept it. If you accept trials by fire, if you accept ordeals, if you accept the way that dice fall, but you choose to stay in the game, meaning life anyway, then that's what makes all the difference in the world. And if you can say to yourself, there's really no need for me to be scared or uncertain about it because I don't have any proof as to what the outcome will be if I choose to go through this, then you'll be okay. And like with each of these things, from my family to my small business to music to whatever endeavor I choose to get involved with, or even whatever may occur in life, if I can say to myself, there's no need for you to not maintain a steady course. You don't have any evidence yet that this would be detrimental or that this would be disappointing. And you won't have that evidence unless you allow yourself to go through it. So you gotta allow yourself to go through your experiences, good, bad, happy, and sad. And if you do that, 9 times out of 10, if it doesn't pay you in a traditional sense, it's gonna pay you in a non-traditional sense. And if you cool with that, nigga, you get up and fight another fucking day. That's it. Ain't nothing else to it.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Beautiful. Like that. Yeah, I was telling my engineer that we about to go, but I was telling my engineer that because, you know, we this is a new inception, and we building and we growing and we growing and we growing. And, you know, my engineer's a fucking perfectionist, but I'm just like, yo, fuck that. Just keep going. You gonna make mistakes. You gonna learn from these shits. The next one is always gonna be better.
Because I'm that way too. My wife was just getting on me about that. She's like, you need everything to be just as perfect as you see it in your mind. But my wife is the one who's like, yo, stop fucking overthinking. Just go.
That overthinking.
So as a perfectionist, and I get it.
Yeah.
If it's not your level of how you envision it, then I completely get it. But
you can't even listen to that shit.
We have to work on that shit. Right. Because if anything, the wheel always has to turn. And some things you got to leave up to improv. And it may not come out as you see it, but it's going to be like just as amazing as it would if it turned out the way you saw it. Yeah, that makes sense?
Well, you got to trust that, though.
Yeah, you gotta
trust that's when the trust in the process comes into play. Right, that's right.
And it takes a lot
if you trust who you are. Right.
It takes a lot, but once you get accustomed to, as you said, trusting the process, you worry a hell of a lot less, bro. I don't be giving a fuck about shit these days, bro. Like nothing. But in the best way. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? Because the shit is gonna happen, so what, bro? Life goes on. It's gonna be fine. It'll be just fine.
And you can't learn until you make mistakes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's when you really understand you're doing something wrong and you learn how to get it right. And once you can identify it as a mistake, you done learn from that.
Right. And that's way more valuable than the payoff.
Yeah.
The mistakes are way more valuable than the payoff. Like once you go through something and you let a little bit of time pass and you at the point where you could look back at it and no matter what it was, you could laugh about it. Or you could be comfortable with what happened. Then you be like, yo, nigga, the truth be told, I need this more than I actually needed the payoff. I got what I got from the payoff.
Right.
No matter what you did to it, whether that was you went out and had a good time with people, or whether that was you went and got something materialistic, or whether that was you in turn invested whatever it was. You got what you got from the payoff. But the ordeal, that's what gets you the bigger payoff. You know, so life ain't complicated, people complicated, like my man say. So, you know, it ain't complicated.
Yo.
My pleasure, man.
Thank you, man.
Nigga said I wasn't good. Don't call me.
Right. Nah, you did good. You did good, though. You got it. Don't knock him out of here.